Hey, Cal, you made this shit?
Yes, sir. What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Millionaire Mansion podcast. My name is James Hodggreen. I'm the owner of the Millionaire Mac Club, and we believe millionaire is defined by your mindset, not monetary status. And today we got a very special Millionaire Mac talk. We have Gavin Haley, a recording artist.
Nicotine and coffee, you don't like to party, you're just sad. FaceTime on the weekends, tell me other reasons life is bad, and I'll be there for you.
Man, I just started tapping into your music. You have a song on 2K, right?
I had a song on that, the older
I had a
one.
song on
Yeah.
He's got a project. He's working on a project. Just came out. You came out with one in April too, huh?
Yeah, I drop pretty consistently, but I'm working on my first ever album, so I've never dropped like a full body of work like that before.
Exactly. Got some great works on the way. We got our co-host Ethan Anderson, man. He's owner of Exert Performance. You know, Big E coming in, gonna drop some bars, drop some wisdom. So let's start off with Gavin. You want to give a quick little intro about yourself?
Bro, you pretty much said everything. My name's Gavin. I'm from Kentucky. I used to be in athletics. I love being outside. I've been doing music. That's my job for about the past 5 years. Live in Los Angeles now. And yeah, I believe in just being I like believing good people. I believe in movement. I believe in healthy foods. And I'm just happy to be here, bro. That's pretty much me in a nutshell. So
I appreciate you for being on, man.
Yeah.
Hey, so what'd you do before music?
I used to race bikes for a long time.
Oh.
Yeah, like cycling. People are always sick, like motorcycles. And I'm like, nah.
Cycling? That's cool.
Nah, this dude is definitely underplaying. The humility right now is just too much. Like, he's trying to act like he wasn't like a pro cyclist, bro. Like,
wait.
Like, yeah, no, I used to like kind of.
I did
rode
it.
Bike as a kid.
I mean, that's how it always starts. I started as like just for fun, and then it kind of became a serious thing. I got on the national team when I was like a teenager. And I realized I could probably do it as a career. And I moved over to Europe for a while. Like half the year I'd be in Europe, and then half the year I'd be home training. And the sport I did specifically was called cyclocross. But I, at the same time, in the off season, I'd always be doing music. So I did turn professional for a really short time, but it was like at the same time I realized, music is like why I'm here. I saw like this clip on TikTok the other day, and it was like, this guy was like a really successful, or not even successful, just an incredible athlete. And he's like, but I found out that's not really what I wanted to do. And while I love that so much, it was just like I felt if I pursued that, I could have done it for a long time. But if I let my music dream go to waste, I would have like regretted that till I died. So
right. So let's actually hop into that. So what was that feeling like? It was obviously bittersweet because you're leaving a love to a more passionate love. So what was the transition like from going from one thing that you were great at, you were already solid in, to something that's not guaranteed? A music career is obviously something very hard to pursue, and you're doing very well. So what was that jump like?
Transition, pretty difficult. I mean, to be honest, bro, I feel like I'm still transitioning. Like I did cycling for 12 years. I've only been doing music for 5. So it's like there's parts of me that when I'm in the art space, it's like more of my athletic side coming out. And I've kind of had to learn how to like switch that on and off, because when you're making a song, it's not like, how do I kill every motherfucker in this room? It's like, how do I make the best song? Right. With athletics, you really it's about how deep in the pain cave can I go? Like, how hard can I train? And a lot of times with art, it's the opposite. You can write, and then you burn yourself out and you have nothing to write about. You have to have this balance of, I need to go live life a little bit so I have something to talk about, versus just like, I don't believe in being in the studio like 24/7. Like, I know that you need to do it enough to be good, but if you're in there every day, like, you're not living life. What are you going to be writing about? What are you going to be talking about? Like, what the speakers look like on the wall? It was a lot more about me actually figuring out who Gavin was outside of athletics, and that's been the biggest transition probably. But yeah. That's about it so far.
Can I ask too? I mean, because I know like that transitional period, like for me, like when I stopped playing pro ball was like a very difficult and dark time for me. You know what I mean? And it wasn't even so much like I realize now that like I never really loved it as much as I thought I did, but like that was just how I like kind of based my identity around my like. So I defined myself, right? How do you think for you? Because you had that like awareness at such a young age. Like, how old are you now?
24.
Yeah, bro. Like, you know what I mean? I was struggling with this at like 27, 28 years old. You know what I mean? And so for me, like, I don't know. I just think it's really, that's one of the things that I think is so amazing about you is like that you have like the confidence and self-awareness at 20 years old, like to have that when most people are like partying and drinking, you were able to navigate that space so well. Like that, what do you attribute like?
Hold up, you broke up at the end of there, bro. You said, what do I contribute? What?
Yeah, I was like, what do you like? What do you attribute like your ability to do that to? Like, what, you know what I mean? Like, how do you stay self-aware like that?
I don't know. In terms of the self-awareness, I feel like that's just, I've always just know like what I love, and I've not been afraid to do it, whether that was wear weird clothes or like wear different things. Like, I've just never really gave a fuck what other people thought about me. And I knew I had several injuries when I raced bikes, and the only thing that really got me through those when I couldn't race or train, and I saw everyone else out there, like, and you're just thinking about, damn, I'm getting behind. The only thing that really got me through that was music. And so I knew that music was like a special thing, and it had always been a part of my life in like increments, never really this big events happening, but I just knew that it was a special thing. And bro, when I play music, like that's the only time where I don't think about other shit. And I just knew I had to do it, dude. I feel like there's these moments where you feel like you're supposed to do something. You're not supposed to go to this place. You're not supposed to get in this car. You're supposed to talk to this person. And I've always kind of just followed my intuition. I believe in gut feeling, and I knew that I was supposed to be on this path. And I don't know if it's forever, but I feel like those moments come, and I've always been a pretty sensitive person. I don't know why, but I just kind of listen to those moments. And like you said, like what you just mentioned, how you said when you quit playing pro ball, it was just like kind of how you like identified your self-worth. I felt that a lot because it wasn't even that cycling was everything for me. It was at the time, but it was just the most familiar thing. And for a long time, like after that, it's like, yo, why am I here? Like I play ball now because not because I love basketball as much as I really, growing up, I like identified myself with working out. Like I find the most comfort, and I know I'm the most familiar when I'm like doing physical activity. You know, it's just like, and so it wasn't even cycling as much as just moving my body. I can't even ride bikes that much anymore because I'm still not over it. Like when I ride, I like am thinking about racing. It's like that's what I do. So yeah, I don't know. I think music was just it came at a really unique time, and yeah, so I just kind of listened to my gut.
I love that. When you were in your transition period, did you have any times when you were second guessing yourself, when you're maybe like, oh, am I making the right decision? Did you ever go through that?
Every day, bro. I mean, but nothing's guaranteed, dude. I could have broke my leg. I could have had a well-paying job racing bikes and broke my leg, and I could have been gone, dude. You know, like everything is life. I've talked to my friend about this the other day, dude. Like life feels like it's just things leaving you all the time. Like my voice could go away. I could lose my ears. Something could always happen. So it's just like, as long as I know, I have to kind of separate accolades versus why I'm doing this. You know, I'm doing this because people like music, because I like music. It's easy to get lost and like look at everyone who's popping so much more than me, like, and just like, do I really have what it takes? Like, am I really good enough to make it? Dude, I go through that shit every day almost, because I feel like that's your worst critic as an artist. But I'm learning, I'm getting better at like holding on to the good moments, and like when I feel good, like hold on to that as long as possible. But yeah, I question shit all the time. I know everyone does that, dude. That's life.
100%.
Yeah.
So, so like, how do you, because I know obviously like it's different. You're in a different space, obviously, than like somebody who's just like, oh, let me put this on SoundCloud. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm sure like your label is really awesome about like letting you, you know, like express your creativity. But when it comes, like you said, this is like your first album that you're putting out. How do you then like even facing like all those self-doubts? How do you go into it and like select what songs are gonna be placed on your album? Is it just like a feeling, or like obviously there has to be flow and all that other stuff to it too, and you gotta navigate execs and all that kind of stuff?
It's kind of what you just missed, all those things, like playing it for your friends, seeing how they react. I have my personal favorites. Honestly, my personal favorites are never the label's personal favorites. So it's kind of like it's a give and take thing. It's a give and take thing. My personal favorite song is always going to be me being raw and honest on the guitar. And like, then there's like other people's opinions. So it's a give and take thing. I mean, that's a partnership. When you sign to a label, like that's what you're agreeing to do is, you know, you're putting out music with a company. And so you got to kind of give and take. But I've been really blessed with my label. They've supported me since day one, always executing my vision. And I love the team over there. So yeah, but with the album, it's been a bit longer process. Like you can only put out your first debut album once, you know? So it's like, I've been more hard on myself. Like, I feel like every song I've written the past 5 years led up to this moment, you know, to make these songs. So I wrote probably 80 or 90 songs this year to pick 10, you know? So it's like, it's just, that's how it goes.
Dang, that is, man, that's something else. Cause like I was thinking about that in the sense of basketball the other day, where I was like, man, like there's really people. Well, no, I was actually thinking about it in a sense of football because I was watching the NFL. I'm like, wow, there's dudes that train all their life to get on the NFL big stage and then could tear their ACL. And then it's like, dang, did I do all this just for it to end like that? But it's a matter of falling in love with the process and finding the lessons from the blessings. That's really what I've been learning recently is like, what is the lesson and how can I turn that into a blessing? Because if you attach to the output, then oftentimes it's not going to be exactly what you expected. And then that's just going to lead to discontent when there's so much pleasure that can be coming out of it. Wow. So what do you think will keep you sane with the drop?
With the drop?
Yeah.
Man, that was introspective as hell. You just said some deep shit.
I told you he's a smart dude, man.
Wow. No, I hear you, dude. Wow. I'm still trying to get better at that, man. Like I put out records 2 years ago that were way bigger than ones I've dropped even last year, this year, like, and I'm learning expectations truly are the root of unhappiness. You know, it's 4 years ago, everything I'm doing now, it's like, well, this is what I wanted and I'm here and I'm not content. And I think that comes from like that athletic drive, just wanting to get to the next thing and just pursuing greatness. You know, you work on it so much, you get it. And it's like, oh, this really isn't that much different. Like, it's just, there's levels to it. And so, yeah, it's the process and like falling in love with the process. I love going to the studio and making music, bro. If I die tomorrow, I'm doing everything I said I wanted to do. Right. And, you know, so when I say that, I'm happy. It's just, it's easy to get lost. There's a really big difference between purpose and goals. Mm-hmm. And so, like, as long as you can keep your vision, your energy on, yo, I'm doing my purpose. Like, if I change one person's life with my music, that's my purpose. And like, if that number goes up, some of the goals come along with it. Right. But as long as you keep the energy on your purpose and you have a good team around you, I just try not to worry about the expectations. Obviously, it's impossible not to because social media and numbers kind of rule the world. But I mean, I've been in like some really dark place when I let that rule my mind. So I try my best just not to. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That's so interesting. You just touched on that too, because I was listening to a compilation of like Jay-Z interview clips, and he was talking about as an artist, you just have to really hold on to faith and understand that even though today might not be my day, tomorrow could be my day. If tomorrow's not my day, tomorrow, the day after that could be my day. And like, he's like really saying, like, I'm picking up the vibe from you, like that you really give every track you all, and that longevity will hold because people may mess with the food stuff, the hype stuff for that week or two, but the stuff with pure passion, pure pure love within it is gonna be the longevity, and that's really what I'm picking up from you, which is awesome because
Appreciate that, man.
that's really what makes music music.
Yeah, that's what it's
It's
about.
what makes music music.
It's like, it's a weird time though too to be in as an artist or a creative or anyone who's honestly trying to pursue anything that they're creating themselves as a business owner, like with TikTok and stuff. Because, bro, you know, like 50,000 songs are submitted to Spotify a day. You know, 50 fucking thousand songs, and it's like there's so much output. It's like there's this mix between, oh, I need to release or people are going to forget about me, and also put out quality or you're just going to be lost in all the noise. How are you going to stand out? And so that's probably been the most difficult thing the last couple of years, is like with TikTok, the music game has completely changed, bro. Labels are just signing people that are moving on there and stuff. And it's like, it doesn't really feel as authentic or about the art anymore. It's just about like, what's a popping sound right now.
Right.
So it's like, you have to have, that's been the biggest thing for me, is like trying to mix, how do I stay as authentic to myself as I can, but also keep with the times.
100%.
Yeah, but
And I think that's like something like where everybody's just kind of going through right now. Like, it's because you see it also like in the basketball space as well. I always say it's like it's substance over perception, right? And so like, because you see a ton of dudes like, I saw this thing the other day it was on Snapchat, and it was like overtime hoops. Oh shoot, it was overtime hoops, and they literally were saying like, oh, Quavo could have gone pro in basketball, and I'm like, bro. I'm like, what are we? And it's not a knock to him. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, Quavo can hoop. He's great.
There's so much more that goes into that than just like, oh, he gets buckets when he's playing with his friends, and like, I'm a pro. You know what I'm saying? But like, some kid is gonna watch that and be like, oh, which is good on one hand, because I do think like it gives kids this perception of like, hey, I can make it in some space, but it also is like, you're not teaching them the realities of what life actually is and how this stuff works.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's no substance behind it. It's just like, these kids don't understand that, like, yeah, you'd rather be famous on TikTok than actually put work in and do, you know, and take the steps necessary to become something more.
Yeah.
Right. And like, I have to navigate that as a trainer, because it's like, okay, these kids come in and they have their idea of what a training session should be. And then it's like, boom, no, this is fundamental, because this is what you're going to get at the college level. It's what you're going to get at the pro level. Like, it's not all this extra stuff that you think it is, but that's what's popular.
What's that like, dude? So I see trainers do it, like teaching these kids. I was gonna ask you this because I've seen trainers with massive numbers on social media that are just like teaching hezzies, like fucking not even just hezzies, like things with like 10, 12 dribbles. It's like, bro, Pat, you would have already passed the ball 7 seconds to go in a game. Like, that's a steal, that's a turnover.
Yeah.
And that's what they're wanting to learn.
Yeah.
Is that really frustrating? Like,
absolutely. And like, I've gotten to this point though too, where I realize, you know, whatever your message is, like, those who are going to get it are going to get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not a very religious person, but like, there's this verse in the Bible that like talks about a sower sowing seeds, right? And, you know, some seeds fall in good ground, some seeds don't produce like roots, and some seeds prosper. And that's how I look at like everything that I'm doing. Every day you step into a gym, or every interaction you have with a person, you're sowing a seed, you know, because whether you know it or not, your brain absorbs every bit of information it hears, right? And so you don't know when stuff is gonna pop up and when somebody's gonna need it. But I just realized, man, like, you can't save everybody. You just put your message forth, and the people who are intended to be in your life, the people who are intended to hear that message will hear it. those that
Man.
aren't, bro. Like, and that's okay. Like, you can't change that. You know what I mean? So it definitely gets frustrating though, because I'm like, bro, what is going? Because you hit this spot where you're like, why is this dude winning? What perceived to be winning right now? Like, you watch a video and it's like it has 1 million views, and you're like, none of that's practical. Right?
Yeah.
None of that's, you know what I mean?
You're teaching the isolation.
Why does everybody want to see that?
Why is it? Is that, bro? Why is every trainer teaching isolation ball? Like, I literally in college, that doesn't happen. You got to go to college first.
At all.
100%.
Bro, every college coach I had was like, yo, if you're taking more than 3 dribbles, you're wasting our time. You know what I mean? Like, and obviously, like, it's a different perspective because you see, it's because everybody wants to be Steph and everybody wants to be Kyrie, and they don't understand that, like, there's so many other guys in the league that aren't that, right?
Yeah.
Like, we put people on pedestals, and yes, it's good to try to achieve that status, but there are a ton of guys who are great ball players that are making great money that are just fundamental, I'm playing the game the right way kind of guys.
Yeah.
All right. But they're not selling their jerseys. They're not getting the endorsements. They're not, like, I had a kid tell me one time that his player comp was Zion Williamson. Mind you, this kid can't even dunk. And I'm like, bro, pick something realistic, bro. Like, what are we talking about? That is a once in a generation freak athlete. Like, some of that you're just born with, and some you're just not, bro. Like, I can't, even at my size, like, we're the same size. There's no amount of training I could do to be Zion Williamson. Like, it just doesn't, it doesn't work. And I think that, like, that's why I brought up it so earlier. Like, it's so important to have that self-awareness, because growth can't come without that.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't know who you actually are, then you tell yourself a lie long enough, you're gonna eventually end up just believing that shit.
Dude, that's true in every space. That's true in literally every space. Like, if you, even in music, dude, like, I had influences coming here, and I remember, like, a pivotal point where I was like, yo, I can't be this artist. I have to be me. Like, I can try my hardest to be like this person, but I'm never gonna. They already did it. Like, they're already better. So why am I trying to, like, you can only get so good. So it's like, why don't you lock in on the things you're best at? You know, that's the, man. Yeah, I hear you. Just lock in on what you're good at.
That raised my question through talking about because you mentioned it earlier, Gavin, about you have to figure out who Gavin is outside of athletics, outside of music. So I feel like that's one of the biggest things that everybody in the world has to do. Like, that's a must. That's a must. You have to spend intentional time finding out who James is, who Ethan is, who Gavin is, and who I truly am, not who does the world want me to be. So what are some of the things you did in terms of that time of figuring out who Gavin truly is?
Just experiencing more things, like, and not to, like, say athletics isn't everything, because athletics still is a really big part of me, because, you know, I could go run up a hill and somebody else could go run up a hill, and we're going to do it 2 different ways. Like, that passion I have in that, I take into most things in life. It was just really experiencing more things, dude, like traveling, seeing other parts of the world. Like, I traveled a lot with athletics, but it was only for the event. I never actually saw the place. And I just reading more books, dude, meeting people, and not just worrying about training all the time. I don't know, dude. I just, everyone's story is different, but it just was really, athletics consumed my life from time I could, like, think about it until I was 18. And I realized I was just avoiding so much shit because I was just focused. I didn't have a drink of alcohol until I was like 20 years old. Like, I know you're not supposed to, but I never partied, dude. I didn't have any girlfriends. Like, I just was focused on shit. And I feel like I was so far ahead of, like, most of my peers in terms of being independent and being on my own, but I felt like I was 5 years old in a lot of other areas because of that, you know? It was just experiencing getting out into the world, dude. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Listening to more music.
That's interesting, talking about the being ahead of your peers, but still feeling like you're behind, like you're 5 years old. Cause like, I feel like I relate to that in terms of like, I don't know. I feel like I've been like that most of my life in terms of like my maturity. Like I've always made friends with older kids. Like Big E's been one of my best friends through high school. Man, like how many years apart are we? And like, yo, Big E, what you on this weekend?
Hey, don't make him feel that bad, bro.
I know,
But
right? Like
it's
I'm
so
like, yo,
dope.
now I look weird because it's like, oh, you're friends with. Nah, it's more so just like, but it's the same thing. It goes like in terms of like spirit. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I've always seen what you're becoming in you. You know what I'm saying? Like you can just feel people's vibes, bro. And like, I don't know, I just understood that at a very young time. And it's great because like I genuinely, I was talking to Chelsea about this the other day. I was like, bro, what's wrong with me? Because like everybody I talk to is either like in their 50s and 60s or they're like 20 years old. And I'm like, I genuinely have like maybe 5 friends that are like my age, but the rest of them, I'm like, bro, I can't talk to you. So I'm with kids all day. So I talk to like high schoolers, college kids, or I talk to people who are 5 years away from retirement.
That's
because
really
I feel like,
why do you think that is?
I don't know. I feel like that J. Cole verse where he's like, I'm big bro, little bro all at once. Like,
Yeah.
Because I think it's because one, like with kids, because every relationship you have, whether you like we know it or not, or whether we genuinely want to admit it, is you get something from it. You know what I mean? And so I find my purpose in like and bridging that gap where I can talk to younger guys about my experiences, and it's like, okay, like it resonates with them. You know what I mean? Because in some sense, like I've done things with my life that they want to do, you know? And then I talk to older people because I want to gain from their experiences. So like, I feel like I'm just like a bridge kind of in between.
That's interesting.
So where it's like, yeah, I want to be, I'm doing this Lewis Howes, like webinar thing this week. So like, I'm thinking about like where my space is, but I want to be like a curator of knowledge, bro. Like I want to absorb as much as I can and hand it over because that's what it's for. So like, yeah, I think honestly, like I talk to younger kids I shouldn't say kids, but younger adults because they listen and they stand to gain value from my experiences. And I talk to older people because I can gain value from their experiences. You know what I mean? And then apparently people my age, I don't know.
They missed the tip.
Well, because it's one of those things where like, you know, I realize like how many people are so tied to their ego. Mm-hmm. And so if I'm talking to somebody who's like my peer a lot of times, and I could be wrong, you know what I mean? But like a lot of times they're not as willing to take the lesson because it's like, bro, what do you know? Like what experiences have you had that I, you know, couldn't have potentially experienced too? And yeah, that's a thing that like, I mean, it holds a lot of people back, but I've had enough humbling experiences in my life to understand that like only thing I know is that I don't know shit. And like I'm, you know what I mean? Like I'm cool with that. So like let me figure out, none of us really know what we're doing. Let me figure out how to make the most of like what I got going on.
Or you think you do, and then like a couple years later you realize you didn't.
Yeah, bro. Like you're constantly like that's what I thought was so interesting when you were talking about when he, you know, when James asked like, you know, how do you like essentially like how do you stay grounded and like continue to like grow? It's like you just gotta live. You know what I mean? Like that's literally all it is because I'm not the same person today that I was yesterday. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to be completely transparent. This morning, bro, I was having like a miserable morning. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was just in one of those weird spaces where I was like, every thought I had was like negative.
Fuck.
you know, and then 2 hours later, you know what I mean? Like it's somewhere along the way it like shifted. So you're constantly, it's a constant, life is a constant growth process, and you're not just knowing that you have to be like, you gotta be water, you gotta be fluid with this shit, just flow with what's going on, and understanding that there's no right or wrong way to do anything, and that your actions don't even necessarily define like who you are. We do things based on what we think is best in that moment, and then you learn from it, and it either works out in a positive sense or a negative sense, but all of this stuff is temporary, you know what I'm saying? So like there's
I
like
hear that.
yeah,
I feel like no, that's like it's all reacting.
Yeah.
Like you do it in that moment, and then like if you reflect and you're like, oh, I could have done that differently. I feel like the key is when that. I have like this theory that not even theory, just I've been thinking about this a lot. Like even in relationships, like you will continue to meet the same person until you learn what you're supposed to learn, or you're gonna like go. Wait, you gotta say something, James?
No, I've been thinking about this so much.
Yeah, dude. Because I feel like, dude, I've been in like fights with like my family or friends, and like on this, not even about the same thing, but just like the same energy. And it's like, I realized I'm like, dude, this is just a moment for me just to shut up and listen. Like if I keep getting mad or like reacting, like the same thing popping up, or like I'm going to keep meeting the same girl until I realize that I actually am worth more than this, you know? And like, it looks different every time, dude, but life is levels. Like I feel like you learn this lesson, you get to the next one. And I think that's why maybe you were mentioning, like even things we know now, we might change our perspective. It's just, you're kind of growing, you're more shaping, you're figuring out who you are as a person. We all start as just this blob, and then you shape into the person. Like you're growing knowledge, you have more knowledge, you're figuring out what you like, what you don't like. It's just getting you ready for the next thing, dude. Like straight up. Cause I feel like once I get comfortable in my skin, dude, the life will throw 10, 15 more things on me. It's like, oh, now I'll be uncomfortable again. And then I figure those 10 to 15 things out. And it's like, oh, here's some more, dude. Like it's never like actually okay, but that's just how it goes. It's just like keep leveling up, getting better. Like that's the point of it.
I've been thinking about that so heavily, like cycles and like that's what I'm realizing through my like just hitting 20 is like life is all cycles. Like the same way that I went through the grind with basketball and still am in the grind with basketball, it's the same with trying to grow a business. It's the same principles with trying to grind and grow with a girlfriend and trying to grow with your family. Like it's all cycles. And I just find it so interesting, like how you're saying, like right when you get comfortable, you're back uncomfortable. And I think like it could be looked at as like obviously like there's duality to everything, and it could be looked at as a negative thing, but as soon as more people, and this is something I'm working on, as soon as you get so comfortable with, all right, what's the next like in my mind, I feel like the way to get ahead is to ask God, ask universe, what's the next thing before it's thrown on you. Like if you're proactive instead of reactive, like, all right, what am I supposed to learn next? Or what am I learning now? And what can I learn in contribution to this? Then it just makes you so much more progressive. And I feel like that's why I really like hanging out with like Big E and like older people and kind of being like the vessel, like you said, in terms of like you're hanging out with people that are almost at retirement, and then you're pouring into young adults, kids. And like in the same sense, like I want to be that vessel. Like I'm hanging out with a 30-year-old, 20, 25-year-olds, 26-year-olds, and then let me pour into people that are my age or younger, or really pour into anybody that wants to listen. It's like understanding at the same time you can learn from others, but you can learn just as much asking the question to yourself. Because like a lot of the times we'll be like, oh, what should I do with my girlfriend? Let me go ask my best friend. Wait, hold on. Why are you asking your best friend before you even ask yourself?
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So like that's what I've been really like being intentional on is like, all right, I'm going to ask Big E. I'm going to talk to my mom about it. I'm going to talk to whoever I talk to, but let me talk to James first because I'm the one in the situation. You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
That's
what are those questions you ask yourself though? Like in those moments, what do you mean? Like, how do you separate like emotions first? Like,
right. So the first thing with it is, before you ask the question, what I've learned is like you need to understand. Like I'll literally say this to myself, like while I'm meditating or while I'm going through something, I'm like, ask the question first, and the answer may not come right away. So that's the first thing I'll say to myself. I'll be like, the answer may not come right when you ask the question, but just ask the question. So then, depending on the situation, I'll just ask literally the most broad question ever: what am I supposed to learn right now? And then I'll just, because like you said, that intuition, that little voice, then you know those feelings when you're just going about your day and maybe you're trying to figure out, oh, what was that movie I was thinking about? And then you're like, oh, I can't think of it. I can't think of it. And then later I'll be like, oh, it was
yeah,
bro, that's literally what I'll be going through throughout my day. Like I'll ask, uh, what am I supposed to learn with this girlfriend? Won't know. Literally right before bed, I'm like, oh my God, there it fucking goes. Like, what? And it'll be the most unexpected answer. So really to answer your question, like I'll just ask, what am I supposed to learn? Or I'll just ask a broad ass question just because there's no there's we live in a realm of infinite possibilities, so there's not one answer. So
Yeah.
if you limit to one answer, then you're really cutting yourself off from maybe the best possibility for you, because I'm a believer in like you're on this path, and whether you branch off left or right or stay in the middle, like you're still going to be on your path. Your path is your path. So like it's just understanding and not attaching to what you think the answer is going to be. Just ask the question, and then the answer may be the complete opposite of what you're thinking. But if you truly want to know, then be okay with the answer not being what you expected, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
Yeah, it's dope because I was like, and hearing you say, I mean, it's pretty much it's detachment.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it's removing yourself from the situation in order to see the situation. Like, you know, uh, like in like Buddhism, they refer to as like the observer, right? Like becoming the observer and like understanding that like things aren't necessarily happening to you, and understanding that everything's temporary. So trying to like remove yourself from it and see it purely for what it is, because we allow our like emotions to like dictate so much of what we do. And not saying that you have to be emotionally cold, but it needs to be more like a little bit more calculated, and like, yeah, just take yourself out of this space. But that's one thing though that like, especially now, that's so hard to get like people to understand, is because our society revolves around like social media and all that stuff. Like people's attention spans and the rates of like ADD and ADHD and anxiety and stress and all that kind of stuff it's just like tripled, gone tenfold. Like it's, you know what I mean? So like, and even now, like, yeah, we all struggle with it. It's a constant battle. But yeah, I think trying to take time and take a second to like understand what you're doing. Like, so like my therapist told me one time that like, before you want to react, like take 3 deep breaths. You know what I mean? Or some people will do like a 5 count or whatever it is before you kind of react, because especially being like, I'm in a long-term relationship. You know what I mean? So like, so it's a constant trigger of like emotions. And that's one thing that I've really had to learn, is like, just because you didn't like what happened or what was being said to you doesn't mean that it wasn't right.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like you said, like, what's the lesson from it? Like, what am I supposed to take away from this? And it's definitely easier said than done, but it requires the ability to like just be present in that moment to understand what's happening.
Right.
Because if you try and think like, and I like your thinking of like, let me try and figure out like what the next problem is. But the older you get, bro, you don't want to do that. And I'm just telling you, because it's like, if I'm constantly like trying to guess, like, oh, what's the next thing going to be? You're going to start to develop anxiety from that, where it's like, oh, what is happening? Like, just be present in the moment. It's the same thing with a basketball game. Like, think of like that, bro. That is why I love basketball so much, because it, to me, more than any other sport, maybe like, I guess soccer too, but like it mimics life so well from the standpoint of like, all right, yeah, I did something good, I got a bucket, but damn, I got to get back on defense. Or like, oh, I just got blown past on defense, damn, they just scored, well, I got to get back on offense. Like, it's this constant back and forth of like, you don't have time to think about your mistakes, and you can't manipulate the other 9 people on the floor the way you want to force the next situation. You just gotta be, you know what I mean? And like, all right, this dude is giving me the left. I want to go right, but let me take this left first to shift him so then I can go right. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just little things like that like, yeah, just trying to like remain present with what the hell is going on in your life, bro. That's, yeah, man. But that shit's tough.
Poetry in motion. Yo, that is so true about ball, dude. Like, you're just reacting to what's happening the whole time. You can't plan shit.
You can't plan it.
Like, you can know what you want to do, but that doesn't mean that that's gonna happen. Like,
100%.
You know?
I can do that with James, but that's because like
baby
food, Gerber.
No.
Gerber.
Last time I came out, got a shootout. You lost. You didn't want to play me ones. Let's not.
I didn't lose to you. What do you mean?
Let's not.
James, I don't know about that. I think Ethan's gonna back down the whole game.
I've never lost to you.
In what? In ones or shootout?
Yeah, in ones.
All right. You didn't play me last time I came back.
Because it wouldn't have mattered, James.
Stop it. See, that's what he says. Like, you're holding. Big E, what was the lesson we just talked about? Be present. So
I am. I'm constantly present.
Hey, yo, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with being
presently. So presently, I'm undefeated. I'm being present.
Yo, and I'm
there you
also,
go, man. That bro. You're trying to jump ahead.
I'm undefeated because I never played any of y'all. So. No, but on no cap though, I feel like I can shoot with anybody. I'll shoot with anyone.
All right, we can.
Gavin is like one of those dudes who's like quietly competitive as shit, to the point where it's kind of like, yo, this motherfucker might be a little crazy. But he looks so like chill and calm while he's doing it. Because Paul is the exact same way, bro. Like, they're not gonna say much, but it's like a look. Like, you can see like a look in somebody's eye when it's like, yo, it's time to compete. And he just came in and did a workout, bro. Like, and I forget who else was there. I think it was Tony and
Tony.
Paul,
it was Tony. Yeah, it was Tony.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was cool.
And then I started having him compete in like a shooting drill, and I'm pretty sure Gavin won every single one. But like, I just saw something in him like click. Like, he didn't actually do it, but it was like a little tick. Like, he was like, it's just focused in. I was like, yo.
Dude, I have fun.
But like, that's the difference.
That's
the difference between being a pro at something and not.
You like, what is that? Like, I don't even know if it's a click, dude. I don't like losing, bro. I just hate losing. Like, if it's not a competition, it doesn't matter. Like, I will brick 14 shots, but the second someone puts a hand in my face, like, I'm like, okay, I have to make it. Like, I don't know. I don't know, dude.
I feel that. All right.
Y'all dropped some knowledge. Oh, sorry. If you
wait.
I said y'all just dropped some major knowledge before this, by the way, though. I was soaking it up. Yeah, it's good to hear different perspective on things. For real.
100%, bro. That's my favorite part about having a podcast and having guests is like, I can't go through what you go through. I can't go through what Big E goes through. And even though some people can relate to different struggles or different benefits. Like you can never walk in someone else's shoes. You can just hear about it. So it's
Yeah.
so cool. It's so awesome hearing different perspectives.
I would love to have a conversation with all y'all in person too. Sometime it's tough when it's freezing on some of them. You don't know, like,
Right.
yeah,
100%. Let's do it. My last two questions for you. First, well, really, I stole it from Big E. So, what do you do in terms of shaping your creative process, or what is your creative process like?
when I'm with music,
Yeah, with music.
just being as honest as I can, man. It's really difficult now. I shouldn't even say difficult. With rap today, there's a really big difference between like J. Cole and Lil Baby or the Baby. Like there's somebody who's talking about like what they're doing. And I'm not saying that one of those people is better, but it's, for me, I've always kind of leaned towards the side of just talking about exactly what I'm going through in life, not talking about things I want or like flexing or anything like that. It's really just been drawing from like everyday experiences. And that seems to be what connects most with me and my fans. So I'm in a relationship right now that has been like pretty tough for me, and not even necessarily like that it doesn't flow well, but it just triggers, like I feel like Ethan was saying earlier, like when you're in a long-term relationship, like it's just triggers, dude. It's like I have a chest full of buttons and this person knows how to press every single one of them. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah. And
you found the one.
Yeah. Dude, and it's good though, because it's never really her, dude. It's like, I'm like, wait, why did I react this way? And it's always something better. And the difference, I'm relating this back to music. It's like, this has been the first time where I've been in a relationship like this and making music. So it's like, oh, we get in a fight, I'll go straight to the studio, dude. Because like, that's how I get out of it. I always talked about music as being like this place where you can put emotion, because I think people don't like to get over stuff because they're worried about letting go of it and not. I feel like pain can almost be familiar, and it's like, oh, if I don't have this anymore, what am I? But music is this great thing in terms of like, you can put something somewhere and have the freedom of knowing you don't have to carry it, but if you want to tap back into it, it's there. So yeah, my creative process is just going to the studio, get in the booth. I always have chords I want to play, or I normally will go in with an idea, and then I'm really inspired by like Juice WRLD and people who they pretty much freestyle all their songs. I don't do that lyrically, but I'll go in and I'll sing for 45 minutes, even 2 hours sometimes, until I find like what I want. I'll just sing over the thing and try different melodies, different pockets. Sometimes it's 5 minutes, bro. Some of my best songs have come about in literally like 15 minutes. And then just be as honest as I can. Like, I remember before I'd been in relationships trying to write songs about relationships, and I really know when you can believe stuff, like you can hear it and like even that Olivia Rodrigo pop girl who's ruling the world right now. Mm-hmm. People are like, yo, I don't get her. I'm like, dude, she's honest. You can hear that she went through this shit, and it doesn't matter how old you are, like that comes through, that cuts through. So that's always been a big thing for me. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, man. I might need to start doing music, bro.
Yeah, dude.
Fire ass album.
You better you can talk to me, bro. I'll channel it out. You better talk to me about it.
Get a YouTube instrumental and voice memos, man. You'll be good.
Yeah.
We'll keep something together real quick.
That actually is like, yo, you ever used a voice memo for app on your phone?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a great. I used to like, when I would be mad, I would just like call my girl right away, be like, what the fuck? Like, why this happened? Like, what the hell's going on? And like, now I just record like what I would have said and wait a day. And then I listen to it and I'm like, oh, this is not good at all. Or it's like articulate. Like, it's like something about just like getting out how you feel in the moment. Because if you don't do that, that's just going to pimp up, bro. Right. Get it out, but then like listen to it a day later, or like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's actually, I'm definitely gonna use that, because I'm one of those people who like, I either like with confrontation, I'm either gonna like react right away, or I'm just gonna shut down and just like, I wouldn't say shut down, but it's like, I know me, and I know I have like a smart ass mouth, so like I say, and I don't even mean to be sarcastic. It's literally just like, it's
no, that's you. I get it.
Yeah, like I can't help it, bro. Like, you know what I mean? I come from a big
bro,
family,
but that's like
half Irish, like like I don't know, like bro, I just say stuff, right? And so I try, but then I have this issue of like not revisiting it. You know what I'm saying? And so I definitely gonna try like that voice memo thing, like just because, man, the thoughts. You know what I mean? Like it does. It gets overwhelming at times, and you know, also those people like, you know how like sometimes you leave, especially when you're in a relationship, like you leave a conversation and you're constantly like just reacting to stuff that you're like, I didn't even get my point. Like I didn't get my point across. And this is what I was really trying to say, or this is what I genuinely meant by it, but it came out like this. You know what I'm saying? And I think that that's something that like we should apply to honestly every relationship, friendship, all that stuff we have, because it's generally the people that are the closest to us that take our heaviest blows, you know, because we assume that like, you know, you have this, or you should have this this unconditional love, but like, yeah, I can still love you, but like I don't really like you. You know what I mean? And we need to think about that. You know what I'm saying? And so it's so crazy because right before we got on here, I saw this story where this dad, like his son had like anger issues. And so what the dad did was they had a fence in their backyard. And he was like, look, every time you get angry, I want you to go put a nail, like hammer a nail into the fence, right? And so the first day it was like 27 different nails. And he did this. And over time, he found himself like less and less angry, to the point where he had a couple of days where like he didn't put any nails in the fence. And then once he did that, his dad was like, all right, now every day from here on out, I want you to remove one nail.
Wow.
And it took this kid, you know what I mean? Like a year to get all the nails out. Right. But he was like, now look at the fence, and all those holes are still there and they can't be repaired. And that fence is forever damaged. You know what I mean? And so like especially getting into relationships and like being with people, you have to think about that, because I don't know who the hell ever invented that sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life.
I was definitely a football player for sure. Hey.
Yeah, bro. But like I remember stuff from like, bro, you can remember stuff from like childhood. I remember just hella shit that I'm like, yo, like that, I didn't realize how much that hurt me. Like dead ass, this is not even a joke. I started playing, I didn't play basketball in high school or whatever. I don't know. I mean, James, I'm sure you know this. But like I started, like I always played, but I tried out for the basketball team my senior year. And I like had played summer ball with them, and I just assumed like, all right, bro, like I'm just gonna make this team, right? So I went to tryouts the whole week. This was like back when they used to literally like post the fucking team like in the school foyer or whatever. So you had to go and read your name and shit, right? And I didn't even go. I just went to the gym and I was putting up shots, and I walked in, and this coach, who to this day, like I would say thank you if I saw him, but at the time I was like, yo, fuck you, bro. Was like, what are you doing here? And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, why are you here? And I was like, oh, practice starts. Like I showed up fucking 45 minutes early to put up shots. Like I was like, yo, practice, you know, I just want to get some shots up. He's like, oh, you didn't read the list? And I was like, no. He was like, you didn't make the team. And I was like, what? Wow. Like I looked at him and I was like, why? And this motherfucker told me, even after playing summer ball and like I was like, you know what I mean, all this stuff, he was like, yeah, you're just not good enough to play on this team. And that, I shit you not, was the moment. That's the only, I can contribute that to the reason why I went as far as I did with basketball, because I was like, I could still hear the words like echoing. I could still remember the feeling, like, and that shit, like even on times I didn't want to train, because psychologically, like your body still feels the things that you think about, right? Like your body doesn't know the difference. Your body has no concept of time. So like every time you recall a memory or anything like that, the physical responses are still the same from the initial reaction. And so anytime I was like, yo, like, I don't want to do this workout, I literally, like, my whole thing was fueled. My whole drive was fueled by, you're just not good enough.
Wow.
And like, that shit changed my life. That happened to me at 17 years old. And from there on, I was like, bro, like, I will never feel that pain again. Like, who the hell is he? You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, like those words and things we say, and I have to be mindful of that as a parent, because
so real,
my
dude.
parents,
Yeah, it's so real.
Yeah, my parents are a lot older, and they came from that generation of like, children are seen and not heard, and so a lot of things were probably like said and done to them as children, or they heard different situations, but they never really got an apology or validation or things like that. And like, parents aren't right, bro. Like, I have, 5-year-old daughter who, every single day, like, she reminds me of what I'm supposed to be doing in this life. And there are times where I emotionally get triggered and I'll snap at her, but I try my best to come back and be like, hey, listen, baby, like that, I'm sorry, daddy's sorry. He didn't mean that. It was just, I was triggered by something else and whatever. And like, that I think is going to go a long way, because she should see that, yes, I'm human, but yes, I also am willing to admit to you that I made mistakes. And that's something I didn't really get from my parents. And I don't think most people get, you know what I mean? And like, but that should be the case. Like, that's what we're here for, to shape the next generation. And so to kind of draw it back to what I'm talking about is like, yeah, like those scars and stuff that you leave, you don't realize it, but you don't know what you can say to a person that is going to negatively or positively impact them for the rest of their life. So every interaction is important. You know what I mean? Like, everything you say to somebody has value, whether it's the most meaningless conversation or not, because shit like resonates, bro. Like, that's why I love working with kids, because it's like, yo, I have an opportunity to literally shape the future. I may not see the fruits of it, but like, and you have the same thing with your music, James. You got the same thing, you know what I mean, with the podcast and everything that you're doing, man. Like, we have a purpose, and we need to like live that intentionally, and also give ourselves like space to be okay with our mistakes and shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's like that balance.
Yeah, bro. And understanding that, yeah, like, we're not fucking perfect. We just gotta figure this shit out, man.
But you're reversing the karma though. Like, even how you just said, like, your parents didn't do that. Like, good on you for like creating that space to like raise your kid to do that. Yeah. Because I feel that all the time, and it's just like, it's easy to snap, dude. But it's like, if you could go back in all those moments where you felt hurt, it's like you gotta nurture that kid just like you would wanted someone to nurture you. In that moment.
Yeah.
Like, for real. Especially as a coach, bro. I had coaches that for a long time, like, I felt closer to than my parents, because I felt like they saw me, and of course it's easier when you're not involved in that kid's life every single day and the whole ins and outs, but it's like, that shit changes kids' lives for real, man. Like, good on you. That's dope.
That's facts.
Yeah, man. That's why, like, it's cool. Like your brother, for instance, that's why I love working with your brother, because he's such like a genuine kid. But he literally is like, he's just like, and I know he makes mistakes, and I know I don't see, you know what I mean, like every side of him, because we all have a different face that we show to people that we love and respect or whatever. But like, I genuinely feel like he's just like a pure soul. You know what I mean? Like, he just says, he's just so brutally honest, but it's not even in a negative light. It's just like, no, this is what it is. And I'm just telling you, like, but and it's hard for me as a coach, because like, I came from this space of like, your coach says something, it's just like, bro, shut the fuck up and do what I'm telling you to do. And like, that's it. But I've had to learn how to navigate that, because not everybody responds to that. You coach the kid, you don't coach, you know what I mean? Like, you don't just coach the team. Like, especially in my space. Like, I don't, if I win or lose every single game, shit doesn't matter. But like, it's just about like the impact and development. But yeah, there's been a couple times where he's like just said stuff where I'm just like, bro, what? If he'd even met me like 3 years ago, I just would have like I would have snapped.
I hear you.
I'm just like,
no,
bro,
I hear
what
you.
are you talking about? Like, what are you saying to me right now, dog? Like,
he's so real. He's so real. He can't help it. He's just like, he has to say what he's thinking.
So, bro,
he told me, and I didn't realize like the significance of like the World Cup in soccer for you guys and your family or whatever, right? So like, keep in mind that at this point we had been training for like probably almost a year, like 4 times, you know what I mean? Like 4 or 5 times a week, bro, like going at it. And then the first tournament we get into, Paul just texts me is like, yeah, because I went through and selected like 9 kids, and I was like, yo, like I'm going to war with you guys. Like, you guys all have a different purpose, but we fit together well as a unit. And he texted me and is like, yeah, I'm not gonna play in this tournament because I want to go watch the World Cup. And I was like, what the fuck did you just say?
Damn. Wait, a soccer World Cup?
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't tell me that. Damn.
Yeah, no, because it's so crazy. Because I honestly, this was one of those moments where I was like, yo, Ethan, just shut down. And then you can't respond to this kid right now because he doesn't understand what you just said. Like, bro, we've been training, putting in extra hours, for like a year. But he didn't explain the backstory of it and like why that was important to him and the significance for your family. All I heard is like, well, coach, you've been putting all this work in, and I know we have our first tournament, but I'm going to go watch soccer on TV. And I was like, dude, what the fuck did you just say, bro?
Ethan, you should have called me, bro. You should have called me. I would have given me the jersey. Hey, give me the jersey. Give me a wig. I'll be there.
Yeah.
I will say he's the most genuine. How you say most people have like they show different sides. Like what you see with Paul is what you get. Like he's never been able to like. He's a really kind kid. Can't believe he's my brother. Sometimes I'm talking to him and I'm like, man, this is like my older brother, not my younger brother. He's just like a really, in terms of like how he like reacting to things, he just always goes forward with kindness and like.
Yeah, man.
Dude. Yeah.
I don't know how, but like there's sometimes, like I don't want to use envious, but like, yeah, I'm kind of jealous of people that are just like that. You know what I mean? Because their life, and I know it's not the case, but their life just seems so much simpler because it's just like, hey, no, like things just are what they are. And like, it's cool. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know, but but I do. And I know like, just in our conversations, I know like I haven't met all of your siblings, but I do feel like, you guys, those of you that I have met you guys are like genuine people. And I think that you guys are really, you know what I mean? Like you guys are navigating this life a lot better than most people in most families. Bro, you know what I'm saying? So it's dope.
Big family, bro. Big family. We all were very close growing up. So I feel like it's unique. We had a lot of siblings. Like I got 4 sisters, 2 brothers. So we were all we had each other, I think that's, having a family that regardless of like anything that happened, like my family really showed a lot of love. And I just can't, I'm so thankful for that, dude. Like knowing just how to love someone full-heartedly and just like that means a lot. So thank you.
Yeah. Can I ask though too? I know we're probably like, well, I guess we don't have a time limit, but I just wanted to ask, how do you think, because were you homeschooled too?
Yeah, I was.
How do you think that impacted like the way like your social like interactions with people? Because like when you said this earlier where you felt like you were like 5 in some senses, you know what I mean, where in other areas you were like a lot more like mature, and just I see it with your brother too, where like some social nuances, it's like, bro, he just doesn't get it, you know what I'm saying, where it's like
I hear you there,
so so how do you think that like kind of impacted
Thank God for athletics. That's about it. Only like, yeah. I mean, no, there's definitely like there's homeschooling is more normal now, but people gotta realize like my mom homeschooled us when it wasn't popular to homeschool. Like now people homeschool for a lot of things, but we were doing this shit like early 2000s, like when like no
where
one
it
did
was
it.
like, yo, that's a homeschool kid. What the
Yeah, exactly. So when you think of homeschool kid, like you think like I just feel like there's a perception. We were always just in other spaces connecting with other kids. I definitely think more than anything, and not even social interaction as much as just like, yeah, you kind of show when you first meet people, you just show them everything about you. Like you kind of assume that everyone's going to be a kind person, and that's not true. You know, you kind
Yeah.
of just assume that everyone is going to have grace and like just be kind and like, and that's not true, especially in LA. That was the hardest part coming here. Like not even like homeschool thing. It's just like being a good person, dude. Like people don't give a fuck about you unless you got something going on. They want to know what you're doing. And like, I never felt held back in the social setting as much as just I felt I couldn't relate to a lot of things, bro. People are in a building all day. I'm learning and then I'm outside. Like I spent so much more time outside than anyone. And I feel like that probably was the biggest thing. I felt a lot more connected to things that I don't know. I don't know if I answered that good, but yeah, it was definitely a little disconnect, but not major. Yeah, because of sports.
Well, no, because I think, but like I just think like, because yeah, that was like the stigma when I was growing up. Like if you were like a homeschool kid, like it was just like, oh, that kid's probably weird as shit. Like
yeah, we were, and I am weird as shit. But I found a way to like. I think I am weird, but I just kind of never apologized for it. You know, I didn't ever have a lack of confidence with it. So like people just either hated me or they're like, oh, that's just Gavin. Like,
yeah. Well, but then you went from like, that's the thing. Like you went from that to being in this space of, and I guess I don't really know like all the politics, like with, you know, cycling and all that stuff, but you went into this space that was like professional sports. I don't give a shit what sport it is a very jaded space. And then to go into the music industry where it's a very jaded space. And it's like, and then to live in LA, which is a very jaded space, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, what helped feel you weren't like being on to this point, just being like feeling really safe to, like you said, just assuming that people were like kind and loving and had the same values as you and all this other stuff. Like I went to public school, so I knew all that shit was fake and like kindergarten. Yeah. So I was like, oh, well, I don't know, man. But yeah, like how did you, outside of just like being outside in nature, because I do think that that's a huge part of like our mental health that isn't talked about enough, but that's for another time. But yeah, how did you kind of like navigate that?
Dude, just getting hurt a lot, to be honest. Like, because when I came to LA, I didn't have very many friends only because like, I think people thought I was fake. You know, like there's not I mean, and there is a lot of good people, but it's like, oh, this person's really nice. What does he want from me? And it's like,
I'm not gonna lie. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm not gonna lie though, but that's legitimately what I thought about you and Paul when I first met you. I was like, yo, these motherfuckers are like robots. Like this can't, I'm like, people who are this nice are like, have bodies in their basement. Like, like this isn't a real thing, dog.
I hear you. Oh, dude, I had to learn to tone it down, dude. Like, and as fucked up as that sounds, it's just like a lot of people. That's just not like how they perceive it. That doesn't stimulate their nervous system properly. Like, and I learned that because, you know, people will always be kind to your face, but behind your back, be like shit talking you. And I get that. That's life in general. But it's just like I kind of, more than anything out here, I don't really navigate it. I had my close friends and I brought them closer. I'm friendly with people now, but I'm very conscious of people that are also filling my tank up. You know, if you just go around all the time and you're giving, you can't be that person anymore because you're drained. And I'm very lucky to have family and a couple key friends in my life that return that to me, that allow me to stay here. Because bro, this place is a really hard place for me to be. Like people love it here and they thrive here. But I can't even, when I drive home to Arizona to see my family, I know there's like this moment where I'm like 100 miles outside of the city where I just feel like I can breathe, dude. Like something shifts just leaving this place where I'm like, oh, I don't know. I think I don't really resonate at the frequency here, and I've learned how to play the game a little bit, but I mean, it's definitely, it doesn't really get easier.
Do you think there'll ever be a time? Because like I know, like in my heart of hearts, like when I get older or retire from whatever it is I'm doing. Actually, I don't know that I'll ever retire because I don't really feel like I work for real. But like, do you ever think? I just want to, bro. I literally like if I could move to like Flag or somewhere and just live in a cabin on a lake by myself, I would do that shit in a heartbeat. But I know it's different, you know, with your career, you kind of like have to be in that scene, and
you gotta be in the scene, bro.
Yeah, like that's the same like with Chelsea with modeling. Like that's one of her biggest things is like, man, if I like she gets booked for stuff all the time, but it's like if I lived in LA, I would be so much farther ahead. But then it's like, all right, bro, like we moved here from Chicago to get away from that kind of space and that kind of energy and all that. And like LA is literally just a spread out Chicago. You know what I'm saying? Like the same kind of vibe, a very similar. It's just the healthier version of Chicago, and the people are prettier. Like that's it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
I hear you.
That's the only thing that's different, bro. Like, and I just know me. Like Phoenix is cool because it's like it's obviously a big city, but it still has like really small town vibes to me. And the worst case scenario, I have a mountain that I can hike that is literally right across the street from my house where I can just sit, you know what I mean? And kind of like absorb like that, you know, like that energy, man. But yeah, I just don't know how you navigate out there.
Man, you gotta have goals.
Gotta be right.
I think it's just goals. Like I don't want to be here forever, but like I think you can get trapped here forever because you just get to the next thing and then you want the next thing. I definitely think I just have to. I have a stopping point in mind. You know, I know what I want to acquire, and I always want to do music. But that's probably been the biggest thing that holds me back, dude, is I'm here because this is where all the studios and the producers I need to meet and like the companies. But I think I'd be so much more popping if I was partying every night, you know, like, cause you can have great music, but you gotta have people where you live who give a fuck about your music. And like when I first moved here, I went out a lot, dude. I partied like the whole first year I lived here, and I told myself I was networking. I had a lot of people cared about me, but then I was like, wait, but I haven't made any music, you know? So it's like finding this balance between having a social life here and making the music. I have a stopping point though, bro. I'm definitely not going to retire in LA. Like, first off, I want to see what the fuck of the earth is even left when I'm old enough to retire, and then we'll pick from there. But but yeah, I definitely don't think this is. I found moments and places where I feel at peace, and for me, that's a basketball court, bro. Like, surrounded by trees outside. Like, I don't think about anything else. Like, that gives me energy back. But it is pretty difficult to do that in the city for sure. I would love to. I would like to think that I could go to like a place like Flag and live in a cabin, but I'm like, I don't know. I'm not. I think I could go there and then be trying to get on Wi-Fi and shit because that's just so programmed in my brain. Even if I don't want it to, dude. Sometimes I'll be on the couch just scrolling on Instagram. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing, dude? Like, why am I even doing
bro.
That? Yeah,
I'm still that weird generation that like we didn't even have a computer in our house. So I was like 14 or 15. So like I had to like go to like the library in school to like get online, or I had to read fucking the sources and encyclopedias to do book reports. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like for me, I love like what technology can do, but I hate this. I hate it. You know what I'm like? I was looking at just my family like the other day. Like my daughter was sitting there on her tablet. I'm sitting there looking at my phone. My wife's looking at her phone. The TV's on, and I'm like, bro, what?
Yeah.
The hell, man. Like,
simulation
why is
shit.
this what? Yeah, like why is this what we are now? But it's a necessary evil. Like, when I go out to restaurants, I intentionally try not to look at my phone because I want to like be, you know, just like present or whatever. But at the same time, it's like you look around and I look I look weird because I'm just like looking and everybody else is just staring at their phone. Like, why is that the norm now, bro? Like, I don't know. Shit throws me off, man.
Facts.
So, yeah, it's only gonna get worse.
It is gonna get more
Again,
interesting, that's for sure.
That's what I'm saying. They're about to, like, we're really about to have robots, bro. Has nobody seen all of the movies where technology it just takes over?
We're there.
Like, come on, man.
Man, that's a whole nother talk right there.
That is a whole nother thing.
A whole nother talk. My last question, I got one last question for you. And I hate to wrap up short because I got practice a little bit.
You're good, no worries.
But do you have, if you have a quote that you live by, what is it? What's your favorite quote ever?
I don't know if someone said this, but I just feel like hard work is undefeated. Like, I think that, like, no matter what you're doing, if you just have the ability to be disciplined, that crosses over. Like, I love a lot of Muhammad Ali quotes, but, like, I've just said this for a long time. Like, if you have the ability to just put in the work and anything, dude, really, like, and fucking basketball and music and just your diet, like, that translates. And it may not be like on your timeline, but yeah, you can tell like when someone's put in the time.
Facts.
And, yeah.
I love that. Man, it was great having you on here, man.
Appreciate the time. Yeah, it was great talking to both of y'all.
It was a spectacular talk. Talk.
Sick.
Man, any last remarks from either of y'all?
I'm good. I'm chilling.
Yeah, I don't really have too much to say. You could, if you want to shout out Instagrams, all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Just Gavin Haley on everything. You can find me. I'm there.
Gavin Haley on everything. Yeah. I'm gonna put your links and all that in the description. So make sure y'all go tap in with him. Make sure you tap in with Big E's Instagram. Big E, drop that. What's that at?
Yeah, it's at exert_performance, man. It's based around basketball, but there's a lot more to it as far as, just life lessons and things like that, my little Wisdom Wednesdays and whatnot. So, definitely tap in with what we got going on.
Hell yeah.
Gold. Wisdom Wednesdays, man, I live for those. But man, I appreciate both of y'all for real. Last thing, make sure y'all stay tuned for my 7-in-7 reset challenge. It's just going to be a challenge that is going to help you start intentionally manifesting, creating the reality you want, and really evaluating your circumstances, where you are and where you want to go. So that's coming soon. Y'all stay tuned. I'll give y'all news on that. And like my grandma said, man, keep going. I love y'all.